Now, as I mentioned, both of these lawsuits were filed in U.S. federal court, but this next one that we're going to hear about is about constitutional rights and Americans' constitutional rights. So Saqib Ali served as a Democratic member of the Maryland House of Delegates from January 10, 2007 to January 12, 2011. He was the first, but I'm happy to say not the only, Muslim member of that body. There has been one more since he was serving. After leaving the legislature, Saqib co-founded Freedom to Boycott in Maryland, an organization of Palestinian solidarity activists dedicated to preserving their constitutional right to boycott Israel and Israeli settlements. The group mobilized support against and ultimately helped defeat the passage of anti-BDS legislation in the Maryland House from 2014 to 2017. So after those measures failed to pass the House, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan issued an executive order denying state government contracts to businesses that refused to sign pledges not to boycott Israel. This past January, Saqib, a professional software engineer, sued Governor Hogan and Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh over the anti-boycott executive order. Similar measures have been implemented in 25 other states and overturned by the courts in Arizona and Kansas. Please join me in welcoming Saqib Ali, who will explain why I'm suing Maryland to protect my constitutional right to boycott Israel.
Thank you very much. Does this work? Okay, great. All right. Greetings, everybody. My name is Saqib Ali. I'm very honored to be here and thankful that you are attending. This is my first time at one of these conferences, and it's great. I'm really delighted to see the turnout and the great speakers. I would like to say that I haven't ever heard that the Israeli military has distributed manuals for arsoning people. I've never heard that before, and that was quite a surprise to me, and I'm not sure if it's true. So just as a brief, by way of introduction, Janet did a great job, but my name is Saqib Ali. I'm a 44-year-old Pakistani American. I live in Gaithersburg, Maryland, which is about half an hour from here. I've been a political activist in the Democratic Party, my local Democratic Party, for a long time. I'm a sort of progressive liberal. We're a dime a dozen. And I've been involved in many causes, local causes, about protecting roadways and school funding and lots of good stuff like that. And back in 2006, I actually ran for the state legislature, and I won a seat in the Maryland House of Delegates, and I served there for 4 years. And after 4 years, I sought a seat. I ran for election for the state Senate. I lost a very close election, so that's why I'm no longer in the legislature. Since leaving the legislature, I found my voice as a Palestinian solidarity activist. I found that there is a lot of, not all, but there is a definite faction in my Democratic Party that was pushing anti-Palestinian measures. Now, when I was in the State House, when I was a legislator, the conversation about Palestine rarely came up because we were a state legislature. We didn't deal with foreign policy mostly. Now occasionally it does come up, but when I was there it didn't come up, so it wasn't a big part of my activism. But what happened is in 2014, the BDS movement started gaining traction and gaining followers and headlines. And this organization called the American Studies Association is a rather small organization of university professors studying Native American history. They passed a resolution, including Native American, U.S. history, decided to issue a resolution to boycott Israel and the Israeli-controlled settlements. I felt it was rather obscure, a little bit obscure. I hadn't heard of this organization before that, but I was glad that they did it. But I didn't think it was really an earth-shattering event. But apparently some people did, and were very offended by this. And this gentleman, his name is Benjamin Kramer. He was a Maryland state delegate like me. I served with him. Now he's a state senator. He was very offended and outraged by the American Studies Association. And he introduced a bill in the Maryland legislature, I think it was 2014, saying that the university, UMBC, which is a major university in Maryland, state-funded university, should be shut down, defunded, because they had 5 professors who were members of this organization, ASA. Okay. So I thought that was outrageous and, ridiculously draconian and just completely without disproportionate and mindless and crazy, frankly. So what I did, but I was very alarmed that it was going to pass. So I got together a bunch of like-minded people who I knew. I got them over to my house. We had a meeting, and we decided that we were going to fight this in the legislature. We would go to Annapolis, and we would testify against it, and we would educate the legislators of why this is such a bad idea, and we would use it as an opportunity to try and put the occupation on trial and force them to grapple with the occupation of Palestine and the settlements and all the other human rights abuses that come along with that. So, oops. Okay, I missed a couple of slides here that didn't get in, but so what we did in 2014, we went to Annapolis, dozens of us, some of the people I see here in the audience today, we went to Annapolis, we testified against this bill, we told them how terrible it was, and we got quite a receptive audience. In particular, the African American legislators, who are a large faction of the Maryland Democratic Party, they sided with us quite decisively. And the bill was defeated. And we were surprised but thrilled that it happened. That was in 2014. It came back again in 2015, slightly different, in 2016 and in 2017. And every year we'd go there, we'd testify against it. We'd analyze why it was different. But the main thing was that, so the first bill was to defund that university. But what it morphed into was the kind of bills you see now all around the country, which say, if you want to do business with the state government, if you're a contractor, and you want to do business, you have to sign a pledge saying that you will not boycott Israel, or, this is critical, Israeli-controlled territories. What does that mean? Of course it means the settlements. And of course they are trying to blur any distinction between Israel and the settlements and say that they're one. So it's very offensive. And it of course flies in the face of US policy and international law. This bill in 2017, most recently, said that anybody who boycotts Israel cannot do state business with the state of Maryland, and the pension fund should divest from any companies that are engaged in such a boycott. Luckily, we killed that bill in 2017 also. That was in April 2017. Now, unfortunately, what happened was in October of 2017, our governor decided to pass this same legislation as an executive order. Okay? Since he couldn't get it through the legislature, what he did an end run. And he said, I'm going to issue this executive order mandating that all state employees follow this rule. And it essentially does a similar thing. So although we blocked it in the State House, our Republican governor, his name is Larry Hogan, circled him right there, you can see this is the ceremony where he is signing the piece of paper saying that this is the order. And there's another gentleman here who's standing by. His name is Reuven Azar. He's the deputy head mission of the Israeli embassy. He was standing right there, and you can see. So when people try and tell you, well, this is just really about non-discrimination, right? This has nothing to do with the Israeli embassy. The Israelis are not pushing this. I think it's quite preposterous, right? The Israeli embassy sent their attaché to this event. They stood around. The governor said he was doing it for Israel. So, you know, we weren't born yesterday. We know what's going on, obviously, and we're not going to buy their attempts to spin otherwise when their laws and executive orders get in trouble. So what does this mean? Now that it's been in place, it's been in place for more than almost a year and a half. And what it means is that there's lots of contracts on the state government's website, okay? And I just screenshotted part of one so you can kind of see for yourself. And on the left side is the first page of this contract, and you can see that there is a juvenile detention center in Maryland, and they need dental services. So they need a dentist to come out and take care of these kids' teeth, right, who they've put in jail, or who are incarcerated for crimes. And on the left side, you will see in this contract the paragraph and what the dentist must sign, must promise that they are not boycotting Israel or any Israeli-controlled territories. So, you know, it's one thing when people tell you this, but when you see it right there in black and white, it's quite startling. And there's hundreds and hundreds of contracts of this that have nothing whatsoever to do with Israel. We need somebody to install carpet in the bus terminal. We need somebody to provide us sanders for the roads. We need someone to power wash our facilities. We need somebody to provide food trays at the hospital. All the businessmen who provide these things have to sign these silly, ridiculous contracts. It's outrageous. And at the bottom, you can see, you can't not sign this thing, right? You have to affirm under penalty of perjury that all the aforementioned clause, that you swear to the aforementioned clause. And what happens, of course, if you sign something under the penalty of perjury, which is false? So I boycott Israel, and I cannot sign this. If I sign this, I risk going to jail. And let me remind you, so every state does their anti-BDS laws slightly differently. And in Maryland, they did it such that you have to sign this form to apply for any contract, whether you get it or not. So anyone, even to apply, you have to sign this contract. And as atrocious as that sounds, that was the Achilles heel of the governor's executive order. Because this gave me standing to sue. Okay? Because in many other states, once you get the contract that you have applied for, then they make you sign this form. But in Maryland, they thought they were being clever, and they said anybody who applies, even to apply, you have to sign this form. So what happened was in December of last year, I got a call from the Council on American Islamic Relations, also known as CARE, which is an excellent civil rights organization. Free speech advocates. Absolutely wonderful people. And I owe them a great, great debt of gratitude. Their lawyer called me and said, well, what happened was I wanted to apply for a contract. And CARES has provided me pro bono representation to do so. So as I wanted to apply for one of these contracts and I was restricted, so let me step back 1 second, sorry. I'm a software engineer by profession. I've been doing professional software engineering for dozens of years, for more than 20 years. I have a long breadth of experience and knowledge about this particular field. And I decided that I wanted to apply for a contract in the state of Maryland. And I legitimately want to do business with the state of Maryland, and I want to fulfill some of their software needs. So I sought to apply for one of these contracts, and of course, the first thing I noticed was one of these clauses. So, I decided that I would sue, and CARE provided me pro bono representation to do so. And in January 9th of this year, we filed a lawsuit in federal court, and there you see the CARE staff standing next to me, suing the governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, saying that he violated my civil rights. And there are three software contracts that I am seeking to get. I want to get. I can help the state of Maryland, and I can make some money while doing so. But the governor is conditioning that on me giving up my First Amendment free speech rights. Boycotting Israel is clearly a First Amendment protected speech, and I should not have to give up my speech to conduct business with the state of Maryland. So I filed a lawsuit on January 9th suing Governor Hogan, saying that he is violating my civil rights. I should be able to apply for these contracts, and because I have not been able to apply for these contracts, I have suffered financial and career damage. So that's where we are. We filed a lawsuit on January 9th. Earlier this month, the governor responded with something called a motion to dismiss, saying that this person, they can't sue. This person can't sue because he doesn't have standing, and because he never really applied. So CARE's lawyers will be responding later, very soon, and we think that we have good arguments. I'm restricted on what I can say without jeopardizing the case. That's why I'm trying to be extra careful here. So that's where we are. But we think we think that this case will succeed, and we think that the issues are very clear-cut. NAACP versus Claiborne Hardware said that political boycotts are afforded the highest level of protected speech under the First Amendment. And the governor is arguing that political boycotts are not protected free speech. That's part of the nub. So we think, based on the case history and based on the Supreme Court's rulings, we think we have a strong case. And we'd love to see similar cases appear in every one of the other states. So that's about it. I appreciate your attention and applause. Thank you very much.
Good job.